We're right to go. Okay. Hi. Welcome. We're right to go. All of you to this council meeting for a second time today on the 16th of February 2021. I'm Deputy Mayor Melanie Lykos and I'm chairing the meeting, given the Mayor, Councillor Chris Rayburn, is an apology for this evening as he is meeting with Canberra and government and opposition representatives. This meeting is held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules and the ministerial good practice guidelines for virtual meetings. Given the current stage 4 lockdown, all councillors and our executive have tuned into this meeting remotely. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Until further notice, all meetings conducted by Strathbogie Shire Council will be held virtually and live streamed on our website at www.strathbogie.vic.gov.au. This ensures we are meeting the Victorian Government social distancing requirements to slow the spread of coronavirus and help keep our communities safe. We encourage all community members to watch the meeting online, given we have had to close the public gallery until further notice, following legal advice around how to comply with COVID-19 social distancing rules. Today, all councillors are working from home, as are our council officers, or they are in closed office spaces. This is so we can participate without having to wear a mask. We understand wearing a mask may create accessibility concerns for some members of our community, and we hope that by participating in today's meeting remotely, we can overcome this. I wanted to take the opportunity to outline that voting at today's meeting will be held by a show of hands. All councillors will raise their hands to vote for any motion. As the Deputy Mayor, I will then state the name of each councillor with their hands raised, both for and against motions. If a councillor has a conflict of interest in a matter, then they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. I will announce when the councillor has rejoined the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. If we have technical difficulties, again, during today's meeting, which means we are unable to broadcast to the public, we will adjourn the meeting for 15 minutes. If the issue is not resolved after this time, but we maintain a quorum of councillors under our local law, we will continue the meeting. If we cannot maintain a quorum, I will have to close the meeting and will call another council meeting to consider the unfinished business on the agenda. Thank you for joining us today. Tonight, I wanted to speak about two things. Firstly, you may have read on our social media, our website, or in a local paper, we have launched a new initiative we're calling Share Strathbogie. This is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts, feedback and advice to help us develop a community vision, council plan, financial plan and asset plan. These important documents guide the work of council over the coming years. Your input will make sure we invest in projects and services that matter to you. We're working hard to improve our communications and engagement practice to build confidence and trust in what we do. We know working with our community will mean we can achieve great things. Our goal is a shared vision, a common direction, a united community. With people power, we can ensure our Shire is an even better place to live, work and play. During the next 9 months, we've developed a community engagement program that gives you countless opportunities to have your say. Share Strathbogie starts with a series of face-to-face drop-in sessions that are designed to understand what our community values. We'll be asking you what you love about living in Strathbogie Shire and what would make it even better and what you could live without. We need to know what matters to you before we can start conversations about services and costs. However, be assured those conversations will also occur at our community forum planned for mid-year. Our community forum will be the first time council uses deliberate engagement practice. We will be open, honest and transparent, and we will put you, our community, at the heart of the decision-making process. Our Share Strathbogie drop-in sessions are being held in Strathbogie, Nagambie, Avenel, Euroa, Longwood, Violettown and Ruffy, and I encourage you to visit our website to find out when we'll be in your town. Secondly, I'd like to explain why our Mayor isn't joining us tonight. Councillor Chris Rayburn is part of a delegation of mayors from 9 regional municipalities joining federal member for Indi, Helen Haynes, at a meeting with the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, tonight. The meeting was to be held face-to-face, but is now occurring online to meet with Victoria's coronavirus lockdown restrictions. At the meeting, Councillor Rayburn has a long list to raise with the Treasurer, and he has asked me to share with you tonight some of the key areas. Number 1 is connectivity, both internet and phone coverage. The Ruffy and Strathbogie communities are currently experiencing significant mobile coverage issues due to a fault at the Mount Wombat Tower. This fault puts many people without a phone service, a service they rely on to keep their families, friends and neighbours safe. Number 2 is reliable internet speed. In December last year, Councillor Rayburn presented to the Joint Standing Committee inquiry into the National Broadband Network. He told this meeting, as he will tell the Treasurer, that our region will be left behind in the digital race and miss out on economic development opportunities if something is not done. This continues to be an option we cannot accept. Number 3, support for coronavirus recovery. The Treasurer will hear that support for business, tourism and community recovery from the coronavirus pandemic is a priority area for Strathbogie Shire. While our community has so far escaped the coronavirus pandemic, we've been hit hard by lockdowns and restrictions which have affected business and tourism. Number 4, reliable power supply. Another key issue Councillor Rayburn plans to raise is the need for investment in more reliable power supply for our area. Despite being just 90 minutes from Melbourne, we're missing out on investment in our region because business cannot rely on a consistent power supply. 5, Councillor Rayburn is also seeking a meeting with the advisor to the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Development, Michael McCormack. This is to discuss the Euroa community's concern surrounding the Australian Rail Track Corporation's ARTC upgrade project. Council is seeking a deliberate engagement process that will allow the Euroa community to reach a group decision on the future design of the Euroa Railway Precinct. Ms Solomon, aside from the Mayor, are there any other apologies you'd like to share with us?
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. There has been a very late apology tonight from Councillor Hourigan due to unexpected personal matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Solomon. Councillors, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest to be made under Rule 94 of our Governance Rules and Division 2 of the Local Government Act 2020? I don't see any show of hands, that's a no. Councillors, the minutes from the council meeting held on Tuesday 19th of January 2021 require confirmation. Can I have a motion moved, please? Councillor Murray, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Binks. Thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the last meeting minutes? No. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No. Okay. Ms Solomon, are there any petitions to consider this evening?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, there are none.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any reports from any councillors you would like to share? Councillor Murray.
Good evening. I'd like to report that over the last 3 weeks I've been going down to Avenel and spending some time at the Daily Dose down there, and meeting some of the Avenel ratepayers down there on a Friday afternoon from 1 till 3. I intend to keep going down to Avenel over the summer period and catching up with residents there. So I hope to see a few of my electors down there. I went to a tennis club meeting a couple of weeks ago to talk about their preparations for the tennis tournament that's about to occur in Euroa, and I look forward to that, and I hope that the community is involved and well behind that. The music festival, I spoke to Adam Palmer a while back and met with him about his preparations for the music festival, and I'm sure he's got that well under control. Down at Avenel, there is a group who are interested in forming an energy hub and are pursuing those matters down there. And we spoke with Damien Drum, the local member, a couple of weeks ago, and enlightened him about the idea of a community energy hub, and he was most supportive. So that's all that I'd like to report. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Councillor Hayes-Burke, you'd like to share a report with us?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Hello, everyone. I'd just like to talk to you about something that I've prepared on the ARTC. So 2 years have passed and ARTC are still speaking to us about building the same bridge that they set out to build in the very beginning. I've attended 2 ARTC working group meetings, listened to working group members, many members of the Shire and the wider community, such as those from Benalla, Glenrowan and Wangaratta. I'm convinced that Euroa deserves better from the ARTC. ARTC are saying publicly that people want a bridge. But is this due to apathy or lack of engagement? The message I am hearing loud and clear is that people want to see at least one alternative to this bridge. As your community representative, I've heard from hundreds of people dissatisfied with the level and method of engagement carried out by ARTC to date in design of this rail crossing. We're about to have significant investment in Euroa by the federal government, tens of millions of dollars. This is a huge opportunity for Euroa, so we need to slow down and get this right. I know that the community can have a connection over the railway line that can bring the town together. ARTC are here to build a rail crossing, and we are asking them to do that with a deliberative engagement of the community. However, I believe Council needs to step up and develop a rail precinct plan that reflects the visions of our community and what it has for its future. I'm calling for Council to develop a rail precinct plan for Euroa. We're about to go out to the community and discuss the budget, which presents to us an opportunity to have a conversation about Euroa rail precinct plan, and furthermore allow for the development of a precinct plan in the upcoming budget. We already have a township strategy that needs to be adopted. It is halfway there. It encourages growth, prosperity, connectivity, green spaces, urban landscapes, heritage and tourism. Let's include a rail precinct plan that completes this missing part of the strategic plan. I encourage the community to be vocal. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and this work on the rail precinct will be an enduring legacy of this council that leaves Euroa. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Binks, you had a report you would like to share with us?
Thank you, Deputy Lykos. Just a brief summary. It's been a busy month for all councillors. We've done heaps of stuff. I'd just like to note the drop-in session we had on Upton Road, which was a really great opportunity for both Councillor Murray and myself and officers and Mayor Rayburn to meet with some locals down that end of the Shire. We also had a really productive community drop-in session at the Nagambie Regatta Centre regarding a planning permit that is in a council at Kerwins Bridge, which was a long afternoon, but it was a really great opportunity to meet with the community. I've been flat chat this last week trying to assist the residents of the Mount Wombat ward with the telecommunications outage, which Deputy Lykos mentioned at the beginning of our meeting. And despite the local government not falling in our jurisdiction, I have been able to get in touch with some people that are taking this matter further, including the Mayor, who's hopefully speaking with the Minister for Telecommunications right now. But yeah, I just wanted to report there's lots happening. We are really looking forward to meeting everyone in the coming Share Strathbogie sessions and hearing what our community would like to see for the council plan, the financial plan, and the community vision. Thank you, Deputy Lykos.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Were there any other reports any councillors wanted to make? No? All right, we'll move on to public question time. Ms. Solomon, are there any questions from the public this evening?
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor, there are 2 questions that we've received through public question time. The first question is from Ms. Laura Baker from Euroa, asking, what is Council's approach to developing a rail precinct plan to proactively address the localised infrastructure needs of the community both now and into the future? It seems more important than ever for Council to develop a plan that will highlight the community needs first, rather than allowing an outside entity to enforce their plans on us. And in response to the question from Ms. Baker, the Euroa Township Strategy 2020 was adopted by Council last year. A key theme of this strategy is to establish a well-connected and accessible township. As part of this, the following strategies have been identified that require consideration around the rail precinct. Strategy 14, improve the north-south connections across the existing rail corridor. Strategy 15, improve and upgrade Euroa station and surrounds. Strategy 16, improve parking facilities in and around Euroa Town Centre. And Strategy 17, resolve pedestrian and vehicle conflict areas. Within these strategies, there are particular actions to be undertaken with recognition of the roles of all parties. In particular, it is noted that the ARTC is the lead agency in relation to the railway precinct, and that Strathbogie Shire Council at Action 33 continue to lobby the Australian Rail Track Corporation, ARTC, to ensure the Inland Rail project considers and implements community values by taking into account the urban design principles illustrated on the Town Centre Concept Plan. This includes the functionality of the area around the railway, Binney and Anderson Streets, with consideration for connectivity, visual amenity, accessibility, safety and location. Work on this advocacy role will continue by and on behalf of and with the community and ARTC. A copy of the Euroa Township Strategy can be found on Council's website. And the second question for this evening's meeting is from Ms. Carissa Wilson, also from Euroa. The question is, many metropolitan and regional councils have declared a climate emergency. Strathbogie is obviously no exception to the current and incontrovertible future impacts of climate change. So my question is, will Strathbogie Shire Council be declaring a climate emergency? And what plans do they have in place to support mitigation and adaptation strategies for climate impacts? And in response to Ms. Wilson's Question. Council in 2019 adopted Sustainable Strathbogie 2020 to guide its response to the changing climate and how we can assist our residents and our operations to adapt and mitigate to this challenge. We continue to deliver programs and actions from this, and in the new financial year will engage with residents to find where their priority for actions lie to ensure anything we do is in line with current community expectations. The declaration of a climate emergency is a matter for the councillors to consider and debate as the leaders of our community. And thank you for both residents for those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon. Okay, so we'll go to item 9.1. Planning application number P2020-128. Use and development of land for a dwelling, Huggards Lane, Murrumbul West. Ms. Tingay, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Lykos. So this application is for the use and development of a dwelling. The application has been advertised and there's been no objections received. The application is being heard before Council tonight due to the proposal being for a dwelling on a lot less than the as of right 80 hectares in the farming zone. The application's been assessed within the 60 statutory day time frame. The proposal meets the objectives of the planning policy framework, local planning policy framework and the farming zone. It is recommended that Council resolve to grant a permit in accordance with the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Deputy Lykos.
Thank you, Ms. Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for the officer? No. Councillors, there's a recommendation from officers to grant a planning permit subject to 18 conditions starting on page 2 of the agenda. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thanks, Councillor Murray. Can I have a seconder, please? Do we have a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Binks. Is there any opposition to this planning application? No. So all those for, please raise your hands. Thank you. And no one against. Okay, motion has been moved. All right, moving on to item 9.2. Planning application number 2019-103. Use and development of the land for caravan and camping park, up to 6 people in one camping site only, including the construction of a glamping tent. Use and development of land for place of assembly, development of land for a carport, development of land for a roofed entertainment area on 134 Byers Road, Tamlu. Ms. Tingay, can we have a summary for this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. So this report is to discuss an application that's been received for the use and development of land at 134 Byers Road, Tamlu. And it's defined under the planning scheme as a caravan and camping park up to 6 people. It also includes the construction of a single glamping tent, the use and development of land for a place of assembly, development of land for a carport and roofed entertainment area. There was an original application that was received by Council in September 2019. The application was amended as a result of objections received from the first notification of the application. As the amended proposal did not satisfy the objections, and council officers have considered relevant matters and expressed that it was unlikely that they could support an application in its original form. Hence, there was an amended application that has been submitted. The amended application included the removal of all camping in the paddocks and a reduction in the number of people that was originally up to 80, back down to a maximum of 6 people. The application was then subsequently advertised and 2 objections were received. The amended application has been assessed within the 60-day statutory timeframe, and the application is being heard before Council tonight due to the 2 unresolved objections. The amended proposal meets the objectives of the Planning Policy Framework, Local Planning Policy Framework, as well as the particular provisions and the farming zone. It is recommended that Council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit in accordance with the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you, Ms Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms Tingay? No? Okay. There is a recommendation from officers on page 28 to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit subject to 31 conditions. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thanks, Councillor Binks, and seconder Councillor Murray. Thank you very much. Is there any opposition? No? Okay. Councillors, I will now put the motion to a vote. Please raise your hands for. Thank you. And does anyone want to vote against? No? Okay. The motion is carried. Okay, item 9.3, planning applications received and planning applications determined from the 1st to the 31st of January 2021. Ms Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. Item 9.3 provides information on planning applications received and planning applications determined from the period of 1 to 31st of January 2020. Council received 13 planning permit applications and also determined 3 for that particular period. The recommendation is that the report be noted. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you very much, Ms Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms Tingay? No, no questions. There is a recommendation from officers on page 53 that the report be noted. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thanks, Councillor Hayes-Burke, and seconder. Thanks, Councillor Binks. And is there any opposition? No. Okay. Does councillors, I will now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands, please? Who is for? All councillors. Councillor Dickinson, are you voting on this one? I think you may be frozen. All right. Motion is carried. Item 9. Sorry, Councillor Dickinson.
I'm sorry, but I have been voting and you just asked me the last time if I was voting. Well, I've voted on them all. Are you getting are you getting my votes?
Can you just pop your hand up in, we're just doing a show of hands.
Yes.
Councillor Dickinson, so if you could just pop your hand up in the screen.
Which I have done. Can you see it?
I can't see your hand at the moment. Can you just pop your hand up in front of your video?
Okay, I can do it. You can see that?
Perfect.
All right, I'll do that.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so moving on to item 9.4, contracts awarded under delegation as approved in Council's 2020-21 Capital Works budget. Ms Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. This report is to inform council, but also the community, of the status of the CRESPA tender that have been awarded under delegation and those that have been publicly advertised but are yet to be awarded as at the 15th of January 2021. This report relates to the council's capital works program for the 2021 period. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you very much, Ms Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms Tingay? Councillor Murray.
I'd just like to make the comment that probably the inclusion of the budget allocation for these tendered contracts would be a good addition to these tables in order to clarify whether these contracts were under or over budget in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Are there any other questions for Ms Tingay? No? Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Murray. And can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Great. Motion has been carried. Okay, 9.5. Endorsement of the Strathbogie Shire Council Vargo Sexual Harassment in Local Government Action Plan. Mr Doobie, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In June of 2020, the Victorian Auditor General's Office conducted a survey on the subject of sexual harassment within the local government sector. This confidential survey was sent to staff and councillors with supporting encouragement for all to complete. Of the 79 Victorian local councils, we were one of the 75 that participated. In December of last year, Council received Vargo's findings, which included data for both our specific shire and that of the wider sector. Broadly speaking, Vargo concluded that councils are not providing workplaces free from sexual harassment, that more than 1 in 4 councillors and council staff surveyed said they had experienced sexual harassment in the last 12 months, and that although councils have the tools that could prevent these experiences, they do not use them to their full advantage. The report made 12 recommendations to councils, which included the introduction of mandatory training on sexual harassment for staff and councillors, a review of complaint procedures, and improved record keeping of said complaints. A further recommendation was directed to the state government to coordinate discussions with state and local government agencies for data collection about sexual harassment in the local government sector. Local Government Victoria has accepted this recommendation. While the response and specific data for our council was more positive than the state average, Strathbogie Shire Council shares this need for improvement. For this reason, I submit an officer report, which is accompanied by a detailed action plan outlining our acceptance towards the recommendations made. I seek Council's endorsement of this action plan. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr Doobie. I ask councillors if they have any questions for Mr Doobie.
Oh.
No. Councillor Hayes-Burke, you have a question?
I just think it's maybe wise to give the people listening a breakdown of what the figures were actually for our shire. So 19% of our shire staff reported that they'd been sexually harassed, and of those who reported that, there were 89% of people who experienced that harassment daily, and there were no reports made to any managers or any other members of staff. So council has a duty of care to its councillors and staff. I mean, it's great that we're putting into place this action plan, but like many women, I know how frightening sexual harassment can be in the workplace, and we need to encourage a culture of reportings, and I believe that this needs to be done probably in most cases anonymously, so that it's not tolerated and eradicated from the workplace. And I'll be raising this with the Audit and Risk Committee to make sure that this policy does have legs and that sexual harassment is not tolerated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Would anyone else like to speak to this or ask Mr. Doobie any questions? No? Okay. Councillors, there is a recommendation from officers on page 66 that Council endorse the Vargo Sexual Harassment Action Plan. Councillors, can I have a motion? Officer Ms. Bray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I just ask councillors to clarify what their motion is, please, when they make a motion?
Yes. Councillor Binks. Councillor Binks.
Sorry, getting there. I am moving the motion that the endorsement of the Strathbogie Shire Council Vargo Sexual Harassment in Local Government Action Plan be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Hayes.
I'll second that motion.
Would any of the councillors like to speak to the motion?
Sorry, I think I jumped the gun a bit.
That's okay. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Having experienced sexual harassment in previous workplaces and the public sphere, I cannot express how important this action plan is for creating a safe working environment. I encourage all residents of Strathbogie Shire to familiarise yourselves with the Strathbogie Shire Council Vargo Sexual Harassment in Local Government Action Plan and join us in ending sexual harassment in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binks. I will now put the motion to a vote. All those for, please raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. The motion has been carried. We'll move on to item 9.6, adoption of Strathbogie Shire Councillor Code of Conduct 2021. Ms. Bray, may we have a summary on this report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So councillors and community, a council code of conduct must be adopted by council on or before the 24th of February this year under section 139 of the Local Government Act. And this draft code in front of us tonight has been developed in consultation with councillors, and it forms the code forms a fundamental pillar of our good governance framework and is to be read in conjunction with a lot of other policies that we have, such as the council expenditure policy, gifts policy, and our governance rules. So the draft code of conduct before you tonight, councillors, complies with the Act in that it includes the standards of conduct to be observed by councillors prescribed by the Act and the regulations. It outlines the procedures. We have an informal, a two-stage conflict resolution process where we have informal processes, but we also have the mandatory formal arbitration process that the Local Government Act 2020 requires us to outline as well. So our code actually enables council staff, councillors and also members of the community to raise a concern about our council code of conduct. So our code is based on 5 values that the councillors have developed in terms of integrity, respect, impartiality and objectivity, courage and bravery, and listening to all viewpoints. And there are a set of behaviours that go under those values to explain how councillors will meet those values and implement them on a day-to-day basis. There's a councillor commitment that outlines how councillors will implement the code on a day-to-day business and how they will behave. And in terms of the dispute resolution procedures that we have in our draft code, it is all about trying to deal with issues quickly and promptly and internally if possible. And if not, if that is if that can't occur, then we have more formal resolution procedures that escalate depending on the severity of the issues at hand. So, councillors, the draft code is before you. We're proposing that the draft code be reviewed on an annual basis so that it's kept up to date with changing community expectations and also any issues or any changes to legislation that might happen. So, councillors, before you, I have the recommend that the code be adopted, that councillors sign that code in the presence of the Chief Executive Officer, and that we promote and make accessible the code of conduct to our community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Bray. Councillors, are there any questions to Ms. Bray on this matter? No? Okay. There is the recommendation from officers on page 57 that the Council Code of Conduct be adopted, signed, and that the community be notified. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Councillor Murray, you would like to move that the Code of Conduct be adopted, signed, and community notified?
I would, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to move that the recommendation be adopted, and I would like to make the statement that this code of conduct is the outcome of much deliberation by the councillors, and is a councillor-driven code of conduct, which we have thought long and hard about, and we would like to support this matter going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Binks. Would any of the councillors like to speak to this motion? No? Okay. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to Councillor Binks. You'd like to speak to this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was sorry. I'm like getting my head around online meeting. I'd also just, yes, following on from Councillor Murray's comments, that it was a quite an in-depth process that we've been working on since we took office back in November, and we look forward to doing a really great job for our community and with each other, working well as a council together with our community and with the Shire staff. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binks. I will now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands for? Thank you, councillors. The motion is carried. Okay, item 9.7, round 2 of the RE3 COVID Response Community Grant Program application assessments. Ms. Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. This year, our community grants focus was solely on assisting community groups with their response to COVID-19. These grants form part of our RE3 campaign, which encourages us all to reset, reboot and revitalise. In January 2021, the guidelines for round 2 of the COVID community grants were updated to allow for applications related to small infrastructure and fixed asset projects, as per the council resolution at the December 2020 Ordinary Council meeting. The round was re-advertised and opened up to the community, and a total of 15 applications were received. A recommendation is on page 116 of the agenda. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tingay. Councillors, do we have any questions for Ms. Tingay? No? Okay, there is a recommendation from officers on page 116 relating to decisions around approving and refusing funding applications. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Murray. Do I have a second? Councillor Dickinson, thank you very much. Does any of the councillors wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Binks, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Lycos. I just wanted to say that it was quite a process from our officers' part in working out how to allocate the remaining funding on this and to have a fair spread of funding across our shire. And I think they've done an exceptional job in getting the money around the Shire within the budget that we had available. I do acknowledge that some applicants were unsuccessful this round, and they were the ones that had received funding in the previous round. So it was, in the end, a fair and equitable outcome. We'd love to be able to provide more funding. However, that was the bucket this time around. But yeah, we look forward to being able to support our communities further in multiple ways, but especially in our rebound from COVID and its impacts last year and continuing right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Binks. Would anyone else, the mover, like to speak to this? Councillor Murray?
No, thank you.
No worries, thank you. And Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak to this? No.
I think
okay.
I think Councillor Binks has said it all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands for? Thank you, councillors. Motion has been carried. Moving on to item 9.8. Longwood Beer, Wine and Cider Festival 2021. It's an application for sponsorship. Ms. Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lycos. The Longwood Football Netball Club have submitted a request for $3,000 for sponsorship for the Longwood Beer, Wine and Cider Festival 2021, which will take place on Saturday, the 27th of February. This event has been going for a number of years in the community, and it attracts approximately 500 people. The request for sponsorship will go towards the contribution of hire equipment, bus hire, and the implementation of COVID safe measures. There is a recommendation printed on page 128 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lycos.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Tingay? No. There is a recommendation from officers on page 128 that Council approve a $3,000 sponsorship of the 2021 Longwood Beer, Wine and Cider Festival to be held on the 27th of February 2021. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Murray. You'd like to move that this sponsorship is granted? And do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Binks. Would the mover like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to say that it's a well-established event by now. It's been happening for a number of years, and it's well organised by passionate and well-organised local people. It'll have a positive impact on the economy of the Longwood community, and the Shire should be supporting such an event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Councillor Binks, did you wish to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Lycos. I just wanted to also point out that we're really happy to support this. Well, I'm really happy to support this event, and I also like to see how our community events can become self-sustaining in the future. We appreciate that this year is a different one and that the committee is having to implement new COVID-safe regulations and measures, and so part of the funding is to help that in that regard. So yeah, that is really great that I think that we are able to assist them in achieving that. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Councillor Binks. Does any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Haysbert.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate that I think it's a great event for the community, and well done to the people who organise it. And I'd like to just put it out there to encourage other people who have events that they would like sponsorship from the council not to hesitate, that we do have a budget for sponsorship. So we'd love to see initiatives like this going forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Haysbert. Any other wish to speak to this motion? No, councillors, I will now put the motion to a vote. All those for, raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. The motion has been carried. Right, next item on the agenda is 9.9, the Longwood Football Netball Club application for sponsorship. Ms Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. The Longwood Football Netball Club have submitted a request for $2,000 for sponsorship of enhancement of the oval at the Longwood Rec Reserve. The Longwood Football Netball Club has been selected by a prestigious AFL football club to hold their 2021 pre-season official intra-club practice match, incorporating their camp and sleepover. This match is proposed for Saturday the 13th of March, with the game beginning at approximately 1 p.m. However, to date, this event is still to be confirmed with the VFL football club in question. The sponsorship request is to improve the playing surface, as concerns have been raised regarding the suitability of the playing surface. The improvements will support the supply and equipment costs associated with horticultural improvements to the oval. There is a recommendation on page 137 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you very much, Ms Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms Tingay? Oh, just before I get an answer to that, can I just welcome Mayor Chris Rayburn to the meeting, and we might hear from you after.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillors, are there any questions for Ms Tingay in regards to the Longwood Football Netball Club application for sponsorship? No? Okay. There is a recommendation from officers on page 137 that Council approve the request for up to $2,000 in sponsorship to the Longwood Football Netball Club Incorporated. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Murray, and a second. Councillor Dickinson, thank you very much. Councillor Murray, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to say that I really support, or we should all support, this type of collaboration between regional and metropolitan football associations, and I'd be pleased to support the Shire in upgrading the surface of the Longwood Football Club oval so that it can facilitate this association happening, and that it may lead to further collaborations between metropolitan and regional football. I note that it will attract hundreds of visitors to the local community, and I'm sure the local community will look forward to those economic benefits that flow from that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak to this motion?
Yeah, I support Councillor Murray in his comments. I have probably experienced this type of event going to larger retail centres such as Shepparton and Wangaratta. So it's really great to see that such a small community as Longwood has been able to attract a VFL club to its oval, and I wish them well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Would any of the other councillors like to speak to this motion? No? Okay. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands for all of those for? Thank you very much, councillors. The motion has been carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is 9.10, Visit Victoria Tourism Review and Update. Ms Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. Visit Victoria, the state government body responsible for promoting tourism within Victoria, commenced a review of the positioning of local government areas within its identified region tourism boards in mid-2019. In 2020, officers were advised that Strathbogie Shire, Mitchell Shire and Greater Shepparton City Council were foreshadowed to be aligned with the Murray Regional Tourism Board. However, timelines for this proposed transition are yet to be confirmed by the Honourable Minister Martin Pakula for Tourism, Sport and Major Events. At Council's September meeting in 2020, amongst other things, Council resolved to urgently write to the Minister requesting his intention of the proposed restructure for the Victorian Regional Tourism Boards and the proposed alignment with Strathbogie Shire within this structure. In accordance with the resolution, Council wrote to the Minister on the 21st of September and confirmation of that letter was received. However, to date, no formal response has been provided to the Council. There is a recommendation on page 146 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos.
Thank you, Ms Tingay. Councillors, do any of you have any questions for Ms Tingay on this matter? No? Okay. There is a recommendation from officers on page 146 that Council note the failure of Minister Pakula to respond to Council's correspondence from September 2020 and write again to the Minister, along with other federal and state politicians, to address this issue as a matter of urgency. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Binks.
Excuse me, Councillor, can we just clarify what the motion is, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just going to say that. Councillor Binks, so you are recommending that we write again to the Minister along with other federal state politicians and address this issue as a matter of urgency. You moving that? Thank you, Councillor Binks. And do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Lykos. Clearly this is a really important thing to get an answer from, and I think we really, need to follow it up and work out where we sit. It's especially with the COVID and the push to have regional and rural tourism as opposed to international and even interstate tourism, getting ourselves within a tourism board, an area, is going to be really vital for our future economic sustainability. So I really recommend that this happen, and perhaps we can all write a letter to Mr. Pakula and ask him what's going on, that we need an answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binks. Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to agree with Councillor Binks' statements there, and also the fact that we're not assigned to a board actually means that we miss out on certain funding for this economic recovery stage post-COVID, which is really important being in a rural regional area. So yeah, thanks. Just want to make those statements.
Thanks, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Do any other councillors wish to speak to this motion? Thank you. Councillor Dickinson, go ahead. Just unmute yourself there, Reg.
Sorry, I keep forgetting.
That's okay, go ahead.
I support the motion, and I find it really disappointing that a politician, namely Mr. Pakula, is not supporting tourism in regional Victoria when the big push because of COVID is to visit and spend your money in regional Victoria. We are a tourist destination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Does anyone else wish to speak to this motion? No? Okay. Councillors, I will now put the motion to the vote. Can I have a show of hands, all of those for? Thank you, councillors. It's unanimous and the motion is carried. Councillor Binks, sorry, did you want to say something? No? Okay. I think your hand just froze on the screen for a second. All right, next item on the agenda, 9.11. Financial report to 31st of December 2020. Mr. Roth, can we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is the accounts till the end of December. We provided a series of statements. The operating surplus, you'll note on the first page of the report, is quite healthy, but that's largely because we recognise our rate revenue at the start of the financial year. So that we expect will come back to close to budget by the end of June. Capital works of 2.6 million in the last month or two. There's been quite a ramp up of letting of contracts. So we expect that will accelerate in the next couple of months and hopefully be a pretty good result by the end of June. The balance sheet's quite healthy with roughly $4 of current assets to $1 of liabilities. And as part of the budget for next year that we're in the process of doing now, we'll go back through this 2021 again and have another look and try and fine tune the prediction to the end of June. So there's a recommendation there for you on page 156. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roth. Councillors, do you have any questions for the CEO on this or for Mr. Roth? No? Okay, there is a recommendation from officers on page 156 that Council note the financial report to 31st of December 2020. Councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state the motion? Thank you, Councillor Murray. Can you please state the motion you are moving? Just turn your mute off.
I support the recommendation of the staff on the financial position of the council. So.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Binks. Councillor Murray, would you like to speak to this motion? No. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Binks? No. Any other councillors wish to speak? No. Okay. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. Can I have a show of hands? All those for? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Moving on, we're on to 9.12 of the agenda, Community Engagement Policy. Ms. Favaloro, can we please have a summary of this report. Thank you very much, Ms. Favaloro. Do any of our councillors have a question for Ms. Favaloro? No raise of hands. Okay, there is a recommendation from officers on page 166 that council adopts the community engagement policy and the need for an annual review. Do I have anyone to move the motion, and could you please state the motion as you do? Councillor Hayes-Burke.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the motion that council adopt this engagement policy. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Binks. Councillor Hayes-Burke, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I'd really just like to say that this is part of the job I'm really excited about, preparing our future together with all the constituents of the Shire, and I can't wait to get out there and listen to the community to hear what they have to say and what their future vision is. And hopefully this will provide an opportunity to discuss the precinct plan, the rail precinct plan for Europe. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Binks, did you wish to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Lykos. Yeah, I'd just like to say how great it is that this is such a key part of not only our Shire, but in our effort to form a council plan for our 4 years as councillors of the Strathbogie Shire, and for that to also include a 10-year community vision and our financial plan. It's a really great opportunity for our community to share with us as elected officials what they want to see for the Shire for the coming 4 years of our term. And I really look forward to engaging with the community across the whole Shire in the coming months that we have these dates set. And hopefully Wednesday, tomorrow, we get good news that we're all clear to go ahead and meet in person. But of course, we'll be keeping everyone updated as to the plans, and they will always align with the state requirements regarding COVID restrictions and those sort of things. So thank you, Deputy Lykos.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binks. Do any of the other councillors wish to speak to this motion? Yes, Councillor Murray.
Yes, I really support the principles of this motion. And I really want this council to be very different from where the Shire has been in terms of its transparency. So I'd like to make sure that this council is transparent, is inclusive of everyone, and that we listen and learn from what people have got to say through a series of engagement opportunities that are coming over the next few months. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. If none of the other councillors wish to speak to this, I will put it to a vote. Can I have a show of hands? All of those for? Thank you, councillors. That is unanimous. The motion has been carried. Okay, 9.13. 2017 to 2021 Shire of Strathbogie Council Plan 2020 Review, second quarter report from the 1st of October to the 31st of December 2020. Ms. Solomon, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. The Council Plan is our key strategic document that informs and guides all business activity that we undertake as a council administration, set by the councillors and delivered by officers. Each quarter, officers report on progress towards achieving Council Plan objectives and actions. This report details the progress for the second quarter of the financial year, October to December 2020. 12 actions have been completed to date, with the remainder due for completion between now and the 30th of June 2021. And there is a recommendation on page 179 of your document for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Solomon. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Solomon? No? Okay. There is a recommendation from officers on page 179 that the quarterly report be noted. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Councillor Binks, could you please state the motion?
Thank you, Deputy Lycos. I'm moving the motion that the quarterly report be noted.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Binks, did you wish to speak to this motion?
Yes and no, not specifically, I guess, but just in sort of acknowledging previous perhaps practices of council. I know it is the commitment of the current council to set yearly and more regular deadlines and things like that. The previous council plan, sort of everything ended at the end of the 4 years, and we're really looking forward to having, I guess, going on from Councillor Murray's comments previously about transparency and good governance. We're really looking forward to having a plan that is current and up to date and is reviewed on a regular basis, and we are meeting those objectives and what we're telling our community we're going to do, and then there is reporting and evidence that we are getting there on a yearly basis. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binks. Councillor Murray, did you wish to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I suppose I should start by saying this is a report of a council plan that was done by a previous council, and so that needs to be considered, along with the fact that we've had such a terrible year last year in terms of COVID and all the ramifications that's brought about. But I should, for those people who've looked at this plan and our ability or inability to meet the demands of this plan, I would remind you about those two factors, and also the fact that there are so many there that are left unaddressed. Means that there is room for us next year to consider some of those things that we haven't addressed, and perhaps try and rectify some of those situations in the coming year. And we're all keen to make sure that the community gets the most value out of a community plan for the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Would any of the other councillors like to speak to this motion? No? Okay, I now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands for? Thank you very much, councillors. The motion has been carried. Okay, 9.14 of the agenda, procurement policy review. Mr. Roth, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the procurement policy governs the way that we purchase a whole range of things, ranging from stationery to capital works. It is required to be reviewed annually. It was previously presented to Council back in December, but we've, at Council's request, we've gone back and done some more work and included different provisions in relation to both local content and sustainability, which we'll further develop in the next review of the policy. There is also a process for dealing with exemptions from the policy, which requires a submission process, and also some commentaries around panels of suppliers. So the policy is there for Council's endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roth. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Roth? No? Okay. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Oh, sorry, Councillor Murray.
Sorry, can I get Mr. Roth to detail the changes that we made in terms of sustainability and local content? So there were a couple of key changes that the council was keen to put forward in this particular draft. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Mr. Roth, can you respond to that, please?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So in relation to local procurement, we've talked about officers obtaining quotations from local suppliers if available. And then when we go through a formal, so some of that stuff is in low value product, but when we go through a formal request for quotation and a request for tender, we're suggesting that the evaluation criteria have a 10% weighting for local content. And we've tried to put some rigour around that. So there is questions about where a local provider has their head office or their branch, the percentage of employees that they reside within the Shire, and how much of the contract they look to spend within the Shire. So we would give each of those three criteria a scoring and come up with a score out of 10 effectively for local content. And then in relation to sustainable procurement, I think, as I've said, we need to do some more work on that probably in the next review. But we're saying that we're committed to adopting the principles of environmentally sustainable procurement. But I think that's a work in progress because we want to get that right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roth. Councillors, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Roth? No? Okay. There is a recommendation from officers on page 225. The council endorses the procurement policy review and notes the need for an annual update. Can I have a councillor move this motion, please, and please state the motion. Any? Councillor Murray, thank you. Please state the motion.
Well, I endorse the review, the recommendation and the review of this policy, and I look forward to further work on sustainability over the next 12 months and how we might include this in the procurement policy.
Thank you.
I also,
Councillor Murray, sorry, you'll have a chance to speak to the motion in a minute. Just state the motion, and do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Murray, I'm sorry, would you like to speak to this motion?
Well, only to add that I support the motion and look forward to further work on the sustainability factor, and also I would like to see some further involvement of the community in the procurement process. I am keen to pursue that in in further enhancements of the procurement policy in the Shire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to see further emphasis, thank you Deputy Mayor, further emphasis on the sustainability environmental factor when taking into consideration procurement, and this is a great update to the procurement policy compared to how it was. It really aids transparency and accountability, and looking forward to seeing it in action.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Just show your hand. Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I endorse those comments made by the mover and the seconder. It's always, or has been, a criticism that I've heard so often that locals don't get a go at tendering. Well, this does give them a better go, and there is an allowance for local tradies, and I think that's going to be really good for them and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to this motion? No, okay. Councillors, I will now put the motion to a vote. All those in for, please show your hands. Thank you, councillors. The motion has been carried. Okay, moving on to 9.15 of the agenda. Establishment of a Chief Executive Officer Performance and Remuneration Interim Committee. Ms. Bray, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This report seeks the establishment of an interim performance and remuneration committee to consider the annual review of the Chief Executive Officer's performance that was undertaken last year by the previous council, to consider that review and any subsequent change to remuneration, and to set key performance indicators as well. So the previous council undertook a review 9 months into the CEO's contract, given that a new council was about to be elected, and it would have only provided council with 2 months, the new council with 2 months to undertake that review. So a terms of reference has been drafted to provide clear guidance to the committee and also some transparency to the community around the role of the committee and how it's composed. It's proposed that the committee only has a very short lifespan, given that we have to do some work under Section 45 of the Local Government Act to comply with a new remuneration and employment committee for the CEO's recruitment as well. And we just need a little bit more time to develop a policy and to develop guidelines around getting an independent member on that committee to comply with the Act. So this is just a very short interim process, an interim committee just to deal with the review that was undertaken last year and to set some KPIs that reflect the current council's current goals. So it's the recommendation that the committee be formed of 3 councillors, one of which is to be the mayor, and we require nominations obviously to fill the other 2 vacancies tonight. And once that committee has met, they report back to council through a council meeting in terms of their recommendations. So, Madam Chair, in front of you on page 239 are a series of recommendations about the establishment of the committee, the composition and getting more nominations for councillors to fill those other 2 positions along with the mayor, and to undertake that review and finalise that review as soon as practicable. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Bray. Councillors, do we have any questions for Ms. Bray on this? No? Okay, there is a recommendation from officers on page 2. Sorry, Councillor Murray, you wish to speak to this or ask a question rather?
Deputy Mayor, it's not a question really. I'd like to move the recommendation, but with an amendment. So that I fully support the setting up of an interim Chief Executive Officer Performance and Remuneration Committee, and I do support the the selection of or the appointment of councillors Horrigan and Binks to that committee, including the mayor. However, I would argue for, I would like to change the section 5.C and D on the recommendation, so that it reads that that committee sets the key performance indicators for the next 6 months, and that D identify the personal development opportunities to be completed during the next 6 months. Now, I argue for that. Sorry, do you want me to speak for that amendment, or would you just like me to state it, Deputy Mayor?
I think we just state what the amendment is, and then you can move and second. Someone can move it. Well, you move it, and then we need a seconder for that amendment.
Oh, I move it then.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Hayes-Burke, you second that amendment?
Yes, I second that amendment.
Thank you very much. Did you have anything else to speak to that motion and that amendment, Councillor Murray?
Well, look, I would like to say a couple of things about it. Firstly, that I believe that the setting of the KPIs need to be streamlined so that they match with the annual review of the Chief Executive Officer's appointment. And I believe setting the KPIs in the interim for the next 6 months will allow the council to bring those KPIs up to the end of the year, so that we can further set the Chief Executive Officer's KPIs and align them with the appointment, the anniversary of her appointment. I'd also like to do that because I think that allows us the opportunity to explore the opportunity of finding an independent person to go on this committee, and I think that allows us to explore those opportunities over the next few months to do that. So I'd like to move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. So we're moving a motion for an amendment on this item, and Councillor Hayes-Burke has seconded that. Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak to this?
I'd just like to agree with Councillor Murray that we just gives us a chance to comply with the Act, and there's the expertise of an independent person to go on the committee to assist councillors in getting the best outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Do any other councillors wish to speak to this? Councillor Dickinson.
I'm wondering what we can't be voting on the motion. We're voting on the amendment, aren't we? The amendment to the motion.
Ms. Bray.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. So the motion was actually, Councillor Murray said it was the motion or the recommendation in the officer's report plus some amendments. So he actually moved, that was the motion. So he was just clarifying that it was based on the officer report, but with those 5C and 5D changed to 6 months. So that is the motion before you that you're voting on.
So we don't actually have to vote on the amendment and then vote on the motion as amended.
That's correct. The motion in front of you is to amend the recommendation, but amend 5C and 5D to read 6 months. So that's what you're voting on.
Okay.
Okay, do any other councillors wish to clarify or ask a question on that? No? All right. I will put the motion to the vote. So the motion is for the committee and with the amendments that Councillor Murray has requested. So can I please have a show of hands for this motion with the amendment? Thank you, councillors. All four. Lovely. Okay, that motion with amendment has been carried. Okay, 9.16 of the agenda, business management system. Ms. Solomon, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. The business management system is a monthly report that officers prepare that provides an overview of just key statistics and data that really provide a snapshot of some of our business activity, business and planning, waste management, customer service, etc. It's purely for councillor information and community information, so they can track and check on progress on those key areas. The recommendation is before you to be noted on page 245 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Solomon. Councillors, are there any questions for the CEO? No, I can't see any shows of hands. There is a recommendation from officers on page 245 that council note the report. Councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state the motion? Can I have a mover? Councillor Murray, thank you very much. So you wish to move that council note the report?
Yes, I wish to move the council note the report.
Thank you very much. And do I have a seconder? Anyone? Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Murray, would you like to speak to this motion?
I'd just like to raise my concern about the customer inquiry and analysis report for January 2021. And I would like to say that it is disappointing, and we have talked about the inquiry analysis report, which is attached. And if ratepayers and viewers have a look at that, they will probably share our disappointment. But we are working hard to overcome some of those problems that are associated with that analysis report, and trying to address some of the customer ratepayer concerns that are presently being unmet in that report.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, I think Councillor Murray said it all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillors wish to speak to this motion? No? Okay. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Can I have a show of hands? All those in for? All those for? Great. Thank you very much. The motion has been carried. Okay. Any notices of motion? Ms. Solomon, are there any notices of motion this evening?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, there are none.
Thank you. Ms. Solomon, are there any notices of rescission?
Likewise, through you, Deputy Mayor, no, there are none.
And is there any urgent business for us to consider? No. Okay. Councillors, there is no other confidential business to consider on this agenda. Just before I close the meeting, I'll just invite Councillor Mayor Chris Rayburn. Did you want to address the meeting?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lykos. You ran the meeting very well, and I'm very well and very appreciative of your taking over there tonight. I believe I had a very successful meeting with the Treasurer of Australia tonight. He was very willing to listen about how the North East local government network how it operates and what we put in our position statement. And I emphasised about the digital connectivity within the rural sector of Australia. I spoke basically not just about Strathbogie, but I spoke about our farming community across Australia, where the rural sector is being left behind by all this new connectivity going into the major cities, and the farming communities are not being looked after. And I also mentioned to him about the Mount Wombat Tower debacle, and he was very appreciative of that, because he's very sensitive to rural Victoria, because, as he said, he comes from Melbourne and he does visit this area quite often. So he was very easy to communicate with on issues about the northeast of Victoria. So after leaving that meeting, I feel quite positive that he did listen, and hopefully we'll have some further information down the track from Dr. Helen Haynes, our local federal member, and also hopefully within the federal budget we'll have some positive outcomes for our region.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rayburn. So we've come to the close of the meeting. I just want to thank our IT team for getting us online after a bit of a delay and a hiccup. Well done. Thank goodness we didn't have to reschedule. It's always nice when you can get it done. So councillors, the next ordinary meeting of the Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, the 16th of March 2021. At this stage, pending no extension of the stage 4 COVID restrictions, it will be held in the Euroa Community Conference Centre, commencing at 6 p.m. There being no further business, the meeting will be closed at 7:57 p.m. Thank you everyone for joining us.